A ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Generous, generous Jerry. Keep booming, booming, booming. People line up for miles. Generous, generous Jerry. Keep blazing, blazing, blazing. They all come to shop through his aisles. Your fireworks will be blazing, and you sure will be a-gazing. Be sure to shop Generous, generous Jerry's today. Generous, generous Jerry, a fireworks visionary. Come and get your fireworks today.
Generous Jerry's Fireworks. Find them in Jamestown, Devil's Lake, Park River, Wahpeton. 2 locations in Fargo and 2 in Grand Forks. Bemidji and Park Rapids in Minnesota. Pick up your coupons at the door. Military get an extra 10% off. Go to generousjerrys.com for more info.
Your fireworks will be blazing, and you sure will be a-gazing. Be sure to shop Generous, generous Jerry's today. Generous, generous Jerry, a fireworks visionary. Come and get your fireworks today.
And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us. It's 1:06 on this finally Friday, the Friday before the 4th of July, June 30th. Temperatures outside are at 80 degrees right now, partly to mostly cloudy around the area. And we'll dive into that forecast coming up here in just a bit. Program phone numbers, 701-293-9000 if you want to join in on our conversation today. Or if you want to answer our question, I want to know, what is everyone doing for the 4th of July? We got a nice weekend coming up, and there's a chance for storms as we head into the end of our weekend and the beginning of next week. And like I said, we'll dive into that forecast here in just a little bit. But if you want to share what you're doing, going to the lake, staying home, something fun, 701-293-9000, or you can always reach us via our studio inbox. That's weather@flagfamily.com. I'm joined today because Dean is doing a charity golf trip and left me here to work, and Bridgette's out having fun in Wysocki. And so it's myself, and we got Sarah Lovas in again. She's co-hosting with me.
Thanks for having me back again.
Yeah, no problem. Always love having you back in here. It's a lot of fun. And our guest today is also going to join us a little early. That's Greg Lardy, the Vice President of Ag Affairs from NDSU. Greg, how are you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
No problem. You guys got any fun plans for the upcoming weekend, 4th of July? Doing anything cool?
Yeah, actually, our grandkids are coming from Bismarck, so we'll have a little grandkid time this week. So, yeah, that'll be fun.
That'll be great. Sarah, anything fun you?
Well, I think I'm actually going to catch a Red Hawks game on the 5th, so that'll be fun. But I am going to be honest. You got some high pressure here. I like my fireworks. So on the evening of the 4th, you got to make sure that we can get to some fireworks and just watch some fireworks.
Where are you watching them at?
We have fireworks in Hillsboro. It's a great show there. I haven't decided if I'm going to be there or go see my sister down in Walcott. So yeah, one of those places.
Well, I'd say in Hillsboro, you should be fine. And I'm going to ask that stupid question. Where's Walcott at?
Walcott is south of Fargo, just a little ways, just like 20, 30 minutes away, basically.
Okay,
straight
so
south.
it's pretty close. So here's the thing about the 4th of July. There's going to be a cold front that comes through Monday, and it's going to stall out on Tuesday. And where this front stalls out ultimately determines where the storms are going to be firing at. Now, as of yesterday and today, that front looks to be stalling to our south and east, so that would bring a slight chance for some storms through the far southern valley down by the South Dakota border, eastern South Dakota, and then southern Lakes country. We're talking south of I-94 over in Minnesota, so south of Alexandria, Fergus Falls. That's where it looks to be stormy on Tuesday, which would leave the rest of North Dakota and northern Lakes country, northern Minnesota, fairly to almost completely dry. So the further north you are of, say, I-94, it looks pretty good. The further south you are, you're going to start increasing those chances for some storms. And it's just unfortunate that they are going to be coming through afternoon, evening, overnight on your Tuesday. So it might affect a few people for the 4th of July. But up here in North Dakota, the most part, it's looking okay.
Well, Uftameda.
I know.
Just lucky
that
we have that we have this great weather intelligence from Justin here. Just drive north. It'll be just fine.
Go north.
It'll be great.
You'll be all right. And why don't we just run down that forecast real quick? Because I know everyone's looking at what they're going to be doing over the weekend. And again, if you want to share what you're doing, 701-293-9000. Now, here's the thing. I can't rule out the possibility of a hit or miss isolated pop-up shower or storm today through Sunday. It's just today and tomorrow it looks very unlikely. Most everybody won't see anything at all, but there might be a few unfortunate people that it rains for a short period of time, or maybe you get a little bit of thunder. But for the most part, we're looking at mainly sunny to partly cloudy days. After today on Saturday, we'll be in the mid-80s, which is where we're going to top out today. Wind is going to be nice and light. And our best chance for a few spotty storms will come through Saturday night towards Sunday morning. So really not going to affect anybody. Sunday, again, couple isolated storms possible. One or two of those could be on the strong to severe side. Main concern would be wind. Gusts upwards of 60 miles an hour with one or two of those storms. And then some hail up to about 1 inch in diameter. And Monday, we also have a chance for some severe weather here in eastern North Dakota. And then as I mentioned on Tuesday, that's going to shift further south and east into Minnesota and South Dakota. So a few things to keep an eye on, but for the most part, weather won't be affecting most people, at least until we get to Monday.
And so if you're spraying, then you kind of need to be checking that rain fast on your label, right?
Mm-hmm. Because some of those... Well, you know better than I. Are we still spraying? Is that done? Or is that kind of just an ongoing process throughout the summer, depending on exactly what you're spraying, if it's herbicide, fungicide, insecticide?
You know, Justin, that is a great question. Actually, there's a lot of spraying that's still going on. There's still some herbicide applications for weeds that are happening with some of the later crops. Most of that's been done. We are really in a prime time, though, right now for fungicide spraying in our small grains. So a lot of those barleys and spring wheats in this neck of the wood are getting sprayed. And the higher the humidity it is, the more risk there is for Fusarium head blight or scab. Mm-hmm. And so the more sense a fungicide application like that's going to make. So
that brings up an interesting idea, a thought process, a thought in my mind. Recently, we've gotten a lot of rain. Most of eastern North Dakota was in a 2 to 5 inch range over the last month. Most of that came within the last 7 to 10 days. Far southern Valley Lakes country, for the most part, about 1 to 2 inches of rain. And then as you get to the central portion of the state, it's like 2 to 5 inches. We got a lot of rain. Soils are saturated. If it's supposed to be humid, is that going to be a big concern moving forward? Is the possibility of fungus in a lot of the fields? Or is that just kind of it needs to stay where it is and we just need to keep piling water on every single week before that kind of turns into a concern?
No, actually that humidity will play a pretty big role. And with this rainfall that we've gotten, and especially in some of these places where maybe we've had these larger rain amounts, we can see some fungus, in particular things like white mold that might be infecting sunflowers or soybeans and dry beans. That actually comes out of a very small mushroom-like growth called apothecia, just because that's a fun word to say.
It's a fun word.
And the fungus comes out of there. But once you have that moisture there, it really wants to, that fungus wants to grow and spread its spores.
So here's another thing. Because of the stage of growing that we are in between beans, corn, grains, etc., what's most vulnerable right now to a fungus or a disease aspect? Is it going to be more corn because it's closer, more packed together versus the soybeans? They haven't completely filled out, branched out, so there's more air movement between the rows. Am I assuming there correctly, or am I on the right path, or is it just everyone's a concern?
You're on the right path, and definitely different crops have different timings. But right now, the fungus that we're going to be concerned about for North Dakota agriculture is going to be Fusarium head blight in our small grains, wheat and barley. Okay. That has been an economically devastating disease in our small grains for many, many years. And so when we get hot and humid and those really moist canopies this time of the year, we really need to take that seriously. Those crops are going to be flowering, and it's when those crops flower that opportunity for infection comes. The bean crops are going to be coming next. When they start flowering, then we'll have the opportunity for infections to happen there.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting. And is corn... Are they really a fungus susceptible crop, or are their issues somewhere in a different? Is it more insect or anything like that, or are they kind of just equal, or do they have some form of resistance to the fungus?
So corn generally, we don't manage diseases in corn the same way that we do the other crops. We haven't had some of those severe impacting diseases. There are some diseases like Goss's wilt that are economically important, but we manage those with seed selection and tolerance from that. We don't necessarily manage that with fungicide applications in season. Whereas these other crops, it's really more how you're managing the fungicide application. Certainly, disease tolerance is something we're looking for, but it is more about managing those funguses in season.
All right, I see. And for those who've been following along with our Here We Grow project, I went out to our field yesterday. I believe it was yesterday. I can't even remember what I did yesterday now. Wow. I'm pretty sure I went to the field yesterday. And we took a look to see what our crop was looking like. And Jim was out there because, like I said, if you've been following along, because of the diversion project, they put a road through 2 acres of our property and pipe, and they're burying pipe 30 feet underground. And they basically have taken almost 2 acres, at least 1 acre, but almost 2 acres of crop that we planted. So Jim came out there, we were talking about it, and what's going to be the next step after that? Are we going to get some form of compensation? How many people are affected by processes like this, and what exactly goes on? So if you want to watch that, episode 11 is live now on YouTube and Facebook. Just search Weather and Ag in Focus, Here We Grow, and you'll be able to watch all episodes up to 11. But our crop was looking really good. I was talking with Jim. He's like, the beans look like they're right where they should be for this time of the year. They're just starting to branch and fill out. The roots were deep. I plucked a couple, and where the roots snapped off, they were about 5-6 inches deep. So they're driving deep down there because of how dry it was. And now I think they're going to be good for the next month with 3 inches of rain that fell on our field in a week. So I say things are looking pretty good. But if you want to chime in with what your field's looking like, again, what you're doing for the 4th, the weekend, 701-293-9000. Same phone number you'll call if you want to ask some questions for our guests. That'll be coming up here in our next segment. That's Greg Lardy, Vice President of Ag Affairs over at NDSU. We're going to get all of our questions and yours answered next.
They'll have you laughing right along with them. They're Bonnie and Friends.
Will we see sun, or is it going to be hiding all day?
Once the sun gets up a little higher angle, we'll start to see some. But
How come you didn't yell at Bonnie? Ty took your open, then she said, "Are we going to see the sun today?" Well, it's in my forecast. Can't you wait till I do the forecast? But nobody yells at Bonnie. You don't yell at Bonnie.
No, you don't. No. You don't make Mom mad.
No, man.
Not good. You'll get thumped.
You don't mess with Iron Range chicks.
No, see, you are a smart man.
Bonnie and Friends. Catch them weekday mornings beginning at 5.
It's Outback Days going on now at Muscatel's Subaru. While supplies last, Muscatel's has new Outback models available now. No waiting. All with Subaru symmetrical all-wheel drive for safety and security 4 seasons of the year. Ask about Muscatel's complimentary accessory credit with new Outback purchase. Muscatel's Subaru, just off Exit 1 in Moorhead or online at muscatelsubaru.com. Subaru, built to last.
What do eyewear and weather have in common? Join us for the Aspire Optical Eye on the Sky weekly weather forecast to find out. Each Tuesday morning, Dean Wysocki, Justin Storm, and myself, Ashley Freeborn, owner of Aspire Optical, will bring you the 7-day forecast.
You never know where we'll be or how it will be presented, but we promise to bring you the most accurate forecast this side of the Red River.
And learn how you can save big on eyewear from Aspire Optical.
Watch the Aspire Optical Eye on the Sky weekly weather forecast on our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter pages.
Trust us, this is weather and eyewear like you've never seen.
Attention homeowners, if you experience flood or water damage in your home, don't wait another minute. Contact Rainbow International of Fargo now for immediate water damage restoration services. They understand the urgency of the situation and are here to help 24/7. Whether it's water damage, fire, or mold, their highly trained technicians will quickly assess the damage and work tirelessly to restore your home. Call Rainbow International today at 701-412-4776.
Pucklet Chevrolet Buick GMC in Valley City makes it easy to find your next Chevrolet Buick GMC or pre-owned vehicle by offering a great selection at our best prices possible.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. I am Sarah Lovas. I am guest hosting, filling in for Bridgette Readel today since she is off having a good time. And we are very happy today to have a guest with us, Vice President of Ag Affairs at NDSU, Greg Lardy. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Sarah, thanks for having me. It's great to be with you.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about, Vice President for Ag Affairs at NDSU? That's kind of a big title. What exactly does that mean, and what do you do at NDSU?
Yeah, I've got the privilege of serving in that capacity. I think it's one of the best jobs on campus. And actually what I do every day is anything that touches agriculture at NDSU, I have some sort of role in that. And so in addition to the vice president title, I actually serve as dean of the College of Agriculture, Food Systems, and Natural Resources, and also serve as director of the North Dakota Agricultural Experiment Station and NDSU Extension. So we have a statewide presence across the entire state with Extension, 7 research extension centers with the Experiment Station. So it's really an exciting organization to be part of.
Yeah, that's super cool. And I've heard that you do some work with the NDON stations as well. Is that correct?
That's correct.
With Daryl?
Yeah. So Daryl's organization, NDON, is part of our agricultural experiment station. So that's a mesonet of 150 weather stations across the state and even into Montana and Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's super nice. I actually just printed out one of their maps right here. It keeps track of all the rainfall we've gotten across the entire state for the last 30 days, and I don't see a single spot on here that hasn't had some form of rain, and it looks like everyone has picked up at least an inch, which is great for the ag community out there and all the farms. So tell me a little bit about the experiment, the
experiment station.
The experiment station. What is that, and what's going on with it?
Yeah, the experiment station is actually the agency that does agriculture and food systems research across the state of North Dakota. So obviously you have a big presence here on campus at NDSU. So if you travel to campus, any of the livestock units out along 19th Avenue, some of the land along I-29 as you drive through Fargo is the experiment station land. And then, like I mentioned, we have 7 research extension centers across the state. So we have locations in Langdon, Minot, Williston, Dickinson, Hettinger, Streeter, and Carrington. And those locations are really designed to be customized, if you will, to address the pressing research questions that fit those local areas. So they address everything from livestock-related research to crops and entomology and a whole lot of other things.
So is there any research that's being done right now that you can talk about that's kind of cool or worth noting what's going on with some of these different projects?
Yeah, all of our stations are, they're right in the middle of field season. So lots of things happening. We've got some pretty cool soils research going on at Dickinson with some aluminum toxicity work that's happening there with Dr. Augustine and his group. At Hettinger, we've got actually a construction project for a new livestock facility that'll be really kind of what we're calling a smart livestock farm. So we're adding a lot of cool technology that'll be able to measure and monitor feed and water intake with
Cool.
our sheep block out there. So there's just a couple examples of some things that are happening. All of the stations have, research that's directly related to the area. So for instance, like at Streeter at Central Grasslands, that's a station that focuses in on the grazing and livestock research, and they do a lot of work with native grasslands and how that impacts not only grassland management, but also livestock production and things like wildlife habitat and pollinator species and those sorts of things.
Right. Very interesting.
Yeah, that's great. And so that's the Ag Experiment Station. But what about Extension? I mean, I know they interact, but what exactly does Extension do in the state?
Yeah, so NDSU is what we call a land-grant university. And so the land-grant universities in each state have a responsibility for basically a statewide approach to education. So in 1914, with the Smith-Lever Act, they created Extension. So our extension system in North Dakota is a county-based partnership. So we have a local presence in each of the 53 counties across the state, which means that our county partners provide part of the salary package and the operating support for our local extension office in each of the counties. So here in Fargo, obviously Cass County, we've got a presence here with Cass County, but even in the smallest of counties, Slope County has a full-time extension agent, and they serve those local needs. So they're there to extend the knowledge that's generated at the university to the local community. So it could be livestock production questions, it could be related to crop systems, it could be related to 4-H programming, it could be related to aging and community wellness, a whole lot of other program areas that our specialists and agents deliver to local communities.
And that's just so neat, because the education that comes out of Extension is so vast and diverse based on what those local needs are. Maybe what are a couple of specific, very diverse programs that you can think of off the top of your head?
Yeah, so we actually conduct programs in 3 broad areas, Sarah. So our 3 program areas would be agriculture and natural resources, 4-H and youth development, and family and community wellness. So those 3 areas are present in our programming that serves the state. Just a couple of examples. So for instance, with our horticulture program, we have a junior master gardener program that teaches youth about gardening and gets them interested in things like horticulture and plants and gardens and those sort of things. Obviously, our 4-H program is a huge component of what we do. There's over 6,000 youth across the state that are involved in club programming activities. And then we've got, programming efforts that we do with our reservation partners, with the Native American communities across the state. And so it really is custom tailored to meet the needs of the local community. So our agents that are in each of those areas are conducting needs assessments and talking to people in the community about what are the needs, what are the educational needs that they want to participate in, and how can we best deliver those programs.
And how utilized would you say that the extension is being used with the transfer of communication from you to the general public? What's that utilization look like, and the importance of that again?
It's hugely important, and I think we deliver programs in a variety of different methods. Some of our programming is face-to-face. Obviously, you have a kind of a traditional meeting. People come together and they get together in the evening, or come together and hear from speakers or hear from our agent in a local community. But we also program through, media, like social media efforts. We have webinars. We have all of those sorts of ways to deliver information. And it really is, I think, an important way that the university serves the broader needs of the state and delivers, research-based information that helps our citizens improve their lives, either economically or maybe through better decisions that they're making for their family from a nutrition standpoint. Mm-hmm. With our 4-H program, we're developing that next generation of leaders that's going to be in our communities and really taking the reins as we go forward.
Right, and you had brought up research again, and I'm going to go back to that topic because research is always being done. It's always going to be moving forward. We always want to get to that next level of education, technology. How can we apply that to agriculture, make it bigger, better, faster, get more yields out of less product, so on, so on. What's the direction that research is going right now in agriculture? I know that there's a lot of different subfields to it, but if we were to just say within farming as itself, what is the direction that research is going in past years with students, graduate students, and the university as a whole?
Yeah, great question. A couple of major trends, I would say. One would be a lot more data, and so a lot more data being collected. And so part of our initiatives that we've been working on the past several years is really building out more capacity to help our scientists handle larger and larger volumes of data. So you mentioned earlier ENDON. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a mesonet that's constantly generating data. So they're all the time they're bringing in data on precipitation patterns, temperatures, wind speeds, that sort of thing. So that's just one example of data sets that we are now able to mine that data, so to speak, and develop applications and tools that we can use for predictive modeling. And so that's really, I think, where we're headed more with the data set or data pieces is how do we use that data to better predict, for instance, maybe what varieties we should be planting in a specific geography, mm-hmm. or when we should be applying herbicides or fungicides based on plant growth or conditions that are favorable for fungus development, those sort of things.
Right, and you also do with the ENDON stations soil temperatures and depths from, I think it's basically surface down to almost 4 feet, at least 36 inches.
And we're also equipping many of those stations with technology that can measure precipitation from snowfall as well. So doing a better job of predicting moisture that's there in snow covers so that we can help with flooding predictions and those sort of things in the spring.
And that's the route I was going to go with it, because with the soil temperatures, obviously you want to know what your soil temperature is in spring to know when you can go out there and plant, and anyone can just stick a probe in their ground to find out. But it's nice to have that option on the computer. You can see the entire state, what it looks like. But you also get to determine where the frost level is at, and that can be a big thing to determine how much runoff we'll get in the spring. Is that going to be an indication that, all right, we're planting late, we got 5 feet of frost we need to melt through before we can get the 60 feet of snow to melt? But this is all really interesting, and I'm sure that there's been such positive outreach from the community with the work that you're doing. And I'll give the option out there again, if you want to call in, ask some questions, join on the conversation. 701-293-9000 is the Red Wing Shoes phone line. You can always reach us via email as well at weather@agfamily.com. We're going to take just a short moment here, and when we come back, we'll continue this conversation with Greg Lardy, Vice President of Ag Affairs. We're talking all about the extensions over at NDSU, the research that's going on, the different programs, as well as the experiment stations, and we'll get all of the rest of our questions and yours answered when we come back.
Rev up your engines for Track Talk with Jason Berg, the ultimate racing radio show every Monday night at 6:30 on WDAY Radio. From the hottest drivers, latest racing news and analysis, to recaps of the best dirt track races in the region. All live from O'Kelly's Bar and Grill. If the dirt's flying, you can bet Jason Berg is covering it. Track Talk is brought to you in part by Gateway Chevrolet, Brady's Service, O'Kelly's Bar and Grill, Magnum Contracting, and WDAY Radio.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope. We use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios for their long-term goals.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No, we tailor our clients' portfolios to their goals and needs.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We're a fiduciary, the highest standard of care for a financial advisor. It means we're obligated to act in our clients' best interest.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, we have one transparent management fee structured, so we do better when our clients do better.
Sounds like you really look out for your clients.
We do, because our priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
You can host the best backyard barbecue when you find a professional on Angie to make your backyard the best around. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
Maximize your corn and soybean crops with Affiance fungicide. This highly systemic fungicide delivers unbeatable protection against disease like northern corn leaf blight, frog-eyed leaf spot, and more. Penetrating the plant's tissue, Affiance provides total plant protection, including new growth. For corn and soybean growers who want quality disease protection and maximize yields, the choice is Affiance fungicide. Ask your local ag retailer about Affiance fungicide today. Always read and follow label directions from Gowan, USA.
It's about tradition, values, and family ties. Pucklet Chevrolet GMC's tradition of giving back to our community remains a priority, and that's why we've partnered with many local nonprofit organizations and events. And our tradition of giving this community a fair and honest offer continues. Right now, you can save over $6,000 on select new Chevy Silverado 1500s. We're Pucklet Chevrolet GMC in Valley City. Tradition, values, and family ties.
See dealer for details.
Thunder Road is open now with expanded hours for the summer. Go-karts, batting cages, bumper cars, 2 mini golf courses, and you've got to check out the renovated Thunder Road Arcade and Laser Tag Arena. Maximize those hours of extended daylight with hours of fun for the whole family at Thunder Road, where the action never stops.
Crank up your nerve, grab your get up and go. Ride the rolling thunder to a place called Thunder Road.
next to the Flying J Travel Plaza off I-29.
You're invited to worship with us at Olivet Lutheran Church in Fargo. We offer a 9 a.m. Sunday traditional service with communion where all are welcome to participate. If you can't worship with us in person, you can always watch live or later on our YouTube channel. Following worship, we have time for fellowship with coffee and donuts and light service projects like packing up food for our food pantry. For more information, go to olivet.org. Encounter Jesus, experience grace at Olivet Lutheran Church on the corner of 13th Avenue and South University Drive, Fargo.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for rejoining us. 1:35 on this finally Friday afternoon. Temperatures outside still right around 80 degrees, and we're rejoining our conversation now with Greg Lardy, Vice President of Ag Affairs at NDSU. And if you want to join in the conversation again, the program phone numbers, the Red Wing Shoes phone line is 701-293-9000. Now, Greg, I want to know a little bit more about you. What got you interested in ag? What brought you into the ag research extensions and agriculture academia?
Yeah, actually, I grew up on a ranch and a small grain farm in the very western part of the state. So my hometown is Sentinel Butte, North Dakota, which is about 10 miles from the Montana border. Mm-hmm. So I was actively involved in 4-H and FFA growing up. So I served as a president of the Country Kids 4-H Club, and that was really kind of my first experience with extension, getting involved in 4-H. And then from there, came to NDSU, did a bachelor's degree in animal sciences, and then did graduate work at the University of Missouri and University of Nebraska. So came back here, was a faculty member in animal sciences, and served as the state's beef cattle extension specialist for a dozen years. And there really did extension programming, educational programming for ranchers, veterinarians, people involved in the feed business, and then did applied research. And really the focus of my research was about how to more effectively use some of the co-products and byproducts that are produced in some of the processing plants around the region. And then 9 years as department head here at NDSU in animal science, and then the last 5 years been in various administrative positions with Extension, the experiment station.
Wow.
But really, got a love for agriculture growing up. With my family and having grown up on a ranch and just experiencing that side of it. So just an inborn fondness for ag and all of the things that are associated with it.
So in your career then, you've had a chance to research a lot of things in the livestock industry. So I'm going to ask a question here. What was your favorite thing that you ever researched?
Oh, that's a great question, sir. I mean, we had a number of different projects that we did. I mean, I think some of the funner, actually, it probably wasn't even a product or a research area, but the funnest part of that job was actually mentoring the graduate students. And every project usually has either an undergraduate or a graduate student that was somehow involved in it, and so you really get a chance to be a one-on-one mentor when you're in those relationships, and so. That's probably my fondest memory. It wasn't necessarily a specific project, but just the chances to really play the role of a mentor in the life of a student. That was particularly meaningful. I mean, I did all sorts of different things. One of the things that we did was we counted flies on the backs of cows in the middle of the summer, and we counted lice on the backs of cows in the middle of the winter. I mean, those aren't glamorous jobs, by the way, but it was fun.
But oftentimes doing research in agriculture, it is really just that glamorous.
Exactly.
Oh, that's super cool. What about along the same lines? Is there any part of that any of those projects and research with the graduate, undergraduate students that you'd done that they had a project and you were helping them with, and you're like, man, this is just a super cool project. Maybe it's cutting edge, or if we get the right outcome that we think we're going to get out of this could be like a whole game changer. Anything like that can come to memory?
Yeah, one of the things I think that was really impactful is we did some work back in the early 2000s that was really looking at, how can we make better use of some of these co-products? And so it's really fine-tuning some of those rations and helping ranchers and beef cattle producers make better decisions from an economic standpoint about how to use those, but also helping the processing plants understand how to get more value out of some of those products too. And so, those fields are constantly evolving, and that was really at a time where a lot of these ethanol plants were coming online. And so it was a lot of fun just to work in that environment because they were taking products that in some cases, really weren't getting much value, and then we're able to figure out ways to better feed them, better utilize them, and have everybody get a win-win.
Cool.
So if it's all right, I'm going to kind of switch gears here and ask a question. I think something really exciting this week happened. I think there was an announcement that came out from Senator Hoeven's office about something that's going to be happening with the Egg Experiment Station. Greg, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, on Wednesday, Sarah, we had a chance to be with Senator Hoeven and his staff and former Congressman Colin Peterson to announce the creation of an Ag Policy Center that'll be at NDSU with the Department of Agribusiness and Applied Economics. And it's a center that'll be developed here, and its role is really going to be to help analyze some of the policies that would be part of the Farm Bill and part of federal farm policy to help, number one, make better, help policymakers make better decisions about which policies will help provide that safety net for our farmers and ranchers, but also which policies are going to be most cost effective in the long run for the taxpayer too. And I think the best part of that whole process is the fact that there's no other center in the Northern Plains, Upper Midwest that really focuses on issues that are relevant to this region. There's centers in Missouri and Texas A&M that do work that's different in scope, and obviously Missouri and Texas A&M have different production systems and different crops and different livestock production systems that they deal with, where here we have some unique challenges, and unique production systems that are different than those parts of the country. So I think that's going to be really exciting to see that created here.
That is a really exciting announcement, and that was a bipartisan effort, wasn't it?
Yeah, former Congressman Colin Peterson has really been working a lot on that, and Senator Hoeven has been incredibly supportive, and it's really his leadership and vision in the Senate Ag Committee and Appropriations Committee that's going to bring that to life, and so we're super excited about it.
And what's the significance of that to our area again, and especially with doing it with NDSU?
Yeah, I think the significance of it is you get a local voice for our production systems here that is going to make a difference in how federal farm policy is going to be crafted, and the impact that can have is really, I think, strengthen the safety net that our farmers and ranchers have when it comes to federal farm programs. But I think one of the keys for our taxpayers and for our citizens is food security on a national level is national security. And so, the basis for all of our farm programs is actually food security. And so it's important for, local citizenry to understand that the investments that they make in the Farm Bill really are driven by national security interests, because we want to make sure that we've got enough food to feed every one of our American citizens, and we don't want to be necessarily reliant on other countries to be providing a lion's share of that. And so that's, I think, the critical piece of this.
That definitely sounds like it.
Yeah. Well, along those same lines, there's another building going on coming up at NDSU that's going to have some pretty big impacts for North Dakota agriculture and end use. Can you tell us a little bit about the Peltier complex?
Yeah, so we're excited to see that building going up. So we're very thankful to the North Dakota legislature for their support of our capital construction projects at NDSU. And the Peltier complex will house a number of different programs on campus, including our food science, cereal science, and meat science programs, research and teaching programs. It'll also house the Northern Crops Institute, and the North Dakota Trade Office. And so that opportunity to bring all of those sort of things, those disciplines under one roof, and really get focused in on end product quality. And as you look at the markets that North Dakota has for our agricultural commodities, whether it's baking characteristics that come from our spring wheat, or whether it's the milling characteristics that come are important to people that are making pasta, or whether it's the flavor and sensory characteristics of the consumers that are selecting meat products at your local grocery store. That end-use quality is really, really important and really drives a lot of decision-making when it comes to both domestic and international customers. And so we want to be able to have a state-of-the-art facility, and that's what this will give us, is a state-of-the-art facility that helps us conduct the research and outreach programs and teaching programs that are needed to really help drive the state's agriculture industry forward and help enhance the ability of the state to market those products, not only domestically, but internationally as well.
Right. And what would you say to somebody who is maybe on the fence of deciding if they want to get into this, the research, the agronomy, any of the other programs and things over at NDSU? If someone was on the fence of trying to figure out, like, I don't know if I want to do this. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't know where to get my feet wet to determine if this is what I want to do. What would you say to somebody like that, or give them some options to check something out?
And if I could add to that question, is agriculture something that only farm kids can do?
Absolutely not. Agriculture is something that anyone can become involved in, and I think that's one of the key messages that your listeners, if you're hearing us this afternoon, and you've got young people in your household, or they're thinking about careers, there's something for everyone in the agriculture and food industries. And so whether you're interested in being a lawyer, you can be a lawyer and that works in the areas of policy and food law. If you're interested in becoming involved in human nutrition, there's opportunities through agriculture and food science to become involved in human nutrition. If you're interested in marketing and sales, there's all kinds of opportunities. And there's opportunities for engineers with our Precision Ag program. So what I would say is there's fantastic job opportunities that await people that want to get involved in agriculture and food production and jump in, experiment, explore. We'd love to host you on campus for a campus visit if you want to come and see a little bit about what we do on a day-in, day-out basis. But there are so many opportunities right now for young people that are becoming involved in agriculture. And it's not just for production agriculture, but it's for any variety of career paths that they want to pursue. And so definitely want to encourage our young people, especially the ones that are listening here in Fargo-Moorhead. If you've got an interest in something to do with agriculture, come see us, because we'd love to have you as part of that cohort of students that we're going to have on campus.
Right. And you said that you could give, on-campus tours or something like that. Is that a general schedule, or is that kind of a private schedule call up, hey, I'd like to maybe get a look at this, or you do things like that? We just have them work with our Office of Admissions. They'll do kind of the general sorts of things for the campus tours, but then any of the special things that they'd want to see, you just let the admissions officers know that, hey, I'm interested in learning more about what's happening in animal science, or I'm interested more in learning about more what's happening in food science, and they'll reach out to the specific staff and faculty that'll help them get some of that in the trenches information and some of those private tours, so to speak. Great. So if someone wanted to do that, either set up a tour or just kind of dive in on their own time, do a little research on what it is that's going on, any websites or somewhere they should go to get that information?
Yep, they can actually just go to the general NDSU website, and there's a link there to schedule campus tours, and so it's pretty straightforward.
Awesome. Well, Greg, I want to thank you very much for joining us on Weather and Ag in Focus today, and hope everything goes well with the upcoming year, the research projects that are going on, and have a happy 4th.
Thank you. Same to you. Thanks for having me this afternoon.
Not a problem at all. Well, we're going to take a look at the American Ag Network here real quick when we come back. Got a few more ag topics and another check at the forecast coming up next.
You go with what works, you trust your experience, and make decisions based on proven results. That is why ag producers like you have chosen Dakota Bank for over half a century and made us one of the largest ag lenders in the nation. Hi, I'm Chad Prewy, ag banker with Dakota Bank in Fargo. No matter the challenges, we are here to help you navigate the highs and lows to grow your business by financing your operating needs, improve your land, or purchase equipment. We all rely on you, and we're just happy to return the favor. Go with allies, go with trust, go with Dakota Bank. Equal housing lender, member FDIC, trust and insurance are not FDIC insured.
If you're looking for land or a specific piece of equipment for your farm, ranch, or construction site, add steffesgroup.com to your list of favorites. You'll find all their upcoming auctions in your area and nationwide, both live on site and timed online. Like their bi-monthly timed online auctions featuring equipment from all of their upper Midwest locations. And if you have equipment to sell, check out the deadline to consign for their next bi-monthly online auction. Go to steffesgroup.com today and get in on the action of an auction anytime, day or night. That's steffesgroup.com, STEFFES group.com.
Hi, Teresa here, the owner of the Fargo Red Wing Shoe Store. I want to take a minute and thank you for shopping your local small businesses. By shopping at your local small businesses, you're investing in your community and helping create local jobs. As a small business owner, I am able to choose unique products just for you. I'm a friend, I'm your neighbor. Invest in your community and shop local. Thank you from the Red Wing Shoe Store. Red Wing Shoes for ultimate durability.
Reaction to the USDA reports. This is the American Ag Network. of Jesse Allen with this market update. Joining us now, Arlen Suderman, Chief Commodities Economist at StoneX, with market analysis and reaction to the USDA grain stocks and acreage numbers for June. Arlen, wow, some pretty sizable changes from USDA here, both on the acreage side, grain stocks as well. Feels like this report very, very bullish for soybeans, and my initial reaction there. Run through some of these numbers and some of the surprises you saw, Arlen.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, the quarterly stocks report was friendly across the board, with wheat coming in 31 million bushels below trade estimates. Corn at 4.106 billion bushels, down about 250 million from what the trade was expecting, but just only about 10 million below my estimate. As we look at soybeans in at 796 million bushels as of June 1st, that came in at 16 million below the trade and about 8 million bushels below my estimate. Again, kind of confirming what we saw in March, USDA modestly overstating the size of last year's crop. But then the real surprises came in the acreage numbers, with corn acreage at 94.1 million, up from 92 million. Soybeans down at 83.5 million, down 4 million from the March estimate. The soybean acreage, and it'll be debated, but it's what the market will trade. There is zero margin for error. We need to either have an above-trend yield this year, or we need to ration demand with higher prices, and that's what the market's doing. On the other hand, corn needs to go lower with these numbers in order to encourage more demand. Export demand is very weak right now. We have quite a margin for error here if we have any crop problems this summer with lower yields.
That's Arlen Suderman of StoneX on the American Ag Network.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for rejoining us. 1:52 on this finally Friday. It is June 30th. We just got done speaking with Greg Lardy, Vice President of Ag Affairs over at NDSU, and man, they got a lot of stuff going on over there. But we're gonna switch topics now away from that to a couple different topics, and we'll take a look at that forecast coming up here in just a little bit. But again, if you want to join the conversation, 701-293-9000. Love to hear what you're doing out there for the 4th of July weekend, and also what your crops are looking like. If they're looking good, give us a call and let us know how they're doing, if you're happy with where they're at for this time of the year, or if the rains came a little too late or just in the right amount of time. And I want to kind of take a look against the state as a whole, from northwest North Dakota to the Southern Valley, and how the crops are faring across the entire state, because we've kind of had different summers, springs so far. All of us, for the most part, were dry up until just a couple weeks ago, or really just last week. A few people got hit with some beneficial timely rains, but very isolated spots. But here in eastern North Dakota, the last few weeks, it's been exceptionally hot. It's been very dry, while far western North Dakota, northwestern, has been a little bit more moderate in temperature, but also, for the most part, almost just as dry. And now we finally have gotten this much beneficial rain, 1 to 5 inches across eastern North Dakota, 1 to 2 inches up in northwestern North Dakota. But how is that affecting the crops differently from a cool and dry spring to early summer versus a hot and dry summer and the difference in the soil types from here in the valley out west. Sarah, you were recently out there. What's the crop looking like?
I was going to say it's very interesting that you would be curious about Northwest North Dakota because I just recently had the opportunity to drive from Williston to Hillsboro. So nice little trek across the state.
Information then.
Yeah, it was great. I was doing a little crop tour out there around Williston and Epping and Minot areas. And it is different from west to east. I think one of the things that kind of stands out to me is the small grain crop. The small grain crop probably isn't the nicest small grain crop that we've seen in a lot of places across the state. You can row it. And yeah, we got this great rain that happened here recently, but it was that crop was pretty far along in its life cycle. And so I'll be curious to see what that's going to mean for yields and everything here at the end. And I think maybe the West is faring maybe a little bit better because they had some cooler weather. But it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out. And you made some comments about how much rain we've gotten across North Dakota. 1 to 5 inches of rain. And that's great, but a lot of these places that got 1 inch of rain, by the end of this week, which it's Friday, I guess. Yeah. Going into next week, I guess sometime, we're going to be needing another drink. I don't think people realize just how dry we were last fall. Right. We were really dry. And, you think back to all that snow that melted and went down. We needed all of that. And we got some rain this spring, but not a lot.
Right. And that snowpack, the excessive snow from last year, that snowpack, when it all melted, it was like, yeah, we know what's going in the ground. We're going to be great. But it was just replenishing what was already lost from the year before, wasn't it? It's not like we were super saturated. We just restored it back to where it probably should be.
Maybe. I don't even know if we got back to that point. When I was soil sampling last fall, it was dry. Mm-hmm. It was really dry.
And when we went out to our field last week, we took an 8-inch core and we were dry down to 6.5 inches. And it wasn't until about 7-8 inches that we had like really any signs of detectable moisture by feel.
And that is a pretty major sign right there that we're pretty dry. So very good point, Justin. But I would say I'm actually all in all, considering how much rain we are, considering how dry the soil profile has been, I'm actually really pleased with how the crop looks across the entire state. Having saying that, again, I'm probably the most concerned about the small grain at this point in time. Some of the later crops, like the soybeans, we've got a lot of time for those. Soybeans are made in August. If you start getting a rain in August, you're going to be smiling with the soybean crop that you're raising, Justin.
See, that's what Jim told me yesterday in our Here We Grow video. He's like, I was asking him, I'm like, hey, should we be concerned with where our crop is at right now? Did this rain come too late? He's like, nope, came just at the right amount of time. The heat stress gave some stress on the crop. They drove the roots down deep. And because of all of that, if we get dry and hot again in August, they're probably going to handle it a lot better had we not had that heat and dryness those couple of weeks. It's just good that we were able to replenish the surface moisture when we did. And everyone got about at least an inch, and more spots just north and west of us that got 2, 3, 4, 5, a few spots up to 7, 8 inches of rain in the last 2 weeks, which is great. So it ultimately comes down now just timely rains. We want just timely rain so it doesn't get too wet, and we don't want to worry about the fungus, but we want the crop to flourish and do well through the rest of July and especially in August for the beans. And is that kind of where corn peaks as well? Is that August where they throw their most growth into the fruit? The corn, the kernels? Yeah, so right now the corn the corn actually looks pretty decent. I'm aware of some places where corn is, waist high already, and it's going to be 4th of July coming, right? Mm-hmm. So knee high by the 4th of July. Well, we generally like it to be taller than that. Yeah, that's a good thing. And so, but if we can get some tassels coming out here in the next little bit, that would be great. Now we're going to be using the most moisture on that corn on about the second week of July here, going
for about the next 3-4 weeks after that.
Okay.
So we're going to be needing some rain on that corn to keep that going.
Well, I'll tell you what, we finally have broken down all the blocking, or at least the majority of the blocking in the atmosphere, so things turn a little bit more progressive with the way these waves track across the country, and that brings in more active weather, at least more timely rain chances for our area. And I got several chances for rain, but nothing widespread until it looks like we start to head towards the beginning of next week. Basically, the next handful of days are going to be repeats. Partly cloudy, mid-80s, light wind, day-to-day chance for an isolated pop-up shower or storm, but most places will not see that. Just a few people will. Sunday, 1 or 2 of those storms could be severe. A little bit wider scattered storms come in on Monday. A few of those storms could be severe. Again, mid-80s, and then that severe threat tracks just to our south, as well as just to our east in Lakes Country, Minnesota, and South Dakota is the way it looks right now, but we'll keep an eye on it in case that front stalls out another 70 miles further north. And I wanted to have enough time to get to this. I only got about 40 seconds, Sarah. Is this enough time to talk about Degelman up in Hillsboro?
Yeah, if I can just give 2 seconds of a mention. Degelman Industries in Hillsboro just had a really big thing going on. It was a $9.5 million expansion, and they had their grand opening yesterday. So congratulations to them. That is a company that is producing tillage equipment and dozer blades for tractors. So we're really excited. It was a big deal. The Lieutenant Governor, Tammy Miller, came out for it. Thank you very much to her. Our representatives and Senator Randy Lem and Representatives Mike Belts and Jared Haggart were in attendance as well. And our Trail County Economic Development was there. So it was a really big deal. They were doing welding demonstrations. I even have a welding sunburn right now because they let us play with the welders. It was great. So congratulations, Degelman.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's going to do it for Weather and Ag in Focus today. Thanks for joining us. We're back on Monday at 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The Jay Thomas Show is next.
AM 970 and FM 93.1, WDAY, Fargo, Moorhead,